We have our jury. Those were the words of New York Judge Juan Marchand this week during the hush money trial of Donald Trump. This is the first time in history that a former U.S. president is facing a criminal trial. With opening statements due to start on Monday, Trump this weekend is campaigning, today specifically, in North Carolina. And this comes after a dramatic final day of jury selection with all 12 jurors and 6 alternates sworn in by Friday afternoon. Jury consultant Richard Gabriel joins us now from Los Angeles. Richard, thank you so much for joining me. This process seemed to move faster than expected. Do you think that this jury is going to hold? And in such an unusual, high-profile case, do you think that the 6 alternates are enough?
Well, it remains to be seen. I mean, 6 alternates ordinarily for a 6-week trial should be plenty. But as we've seen in all these high-profile trials, crazy things can happen. And depending on what happens even on Monday, whether jurors come in and go, this is too much pressure, I didn't realize this was going to be so extensive, they could replace jurors even next week. So I think the judge is hoping that'll be enough. It should be enough. The thing about this jury is that there's a lot of high profile people on the jury. There's lawyers, there's engineers, there's financial people who I think do feel a little bit comfortable, probably won't feel as intimidated. So I think this is a pretty solid jury. The judge in this case is absolutely going to try to keep this jury and protect them the best he can.
But there's no question that this is going to be very intense, Richard, for those jurors and the alternates as well. Just yesterday, we saw that 2 potential jurors were excused. They told the judge that the trial was too stressful. One even began crying in the courtroom. So how difficult is this going to be for the jury? How high are the stakes for these 18 individuals with the alternates?
Well, the stakes are much higher for Mr. Trump, but there's a tremendous amount of pressure on these jurors. They are not only have to face the scrutiny, obviously their family and some friends probably know they're going to be on the jury. And so there's that social pressure that creates that. Also, there's internal pressure to try to understand, okay, I've got my opinions, I've got my beliefs, but I've got to somehow set those aside and only focus on the facts and the evidence of the case. There is the potential for some of these jurors to be threatened. There has been some overtures about that. So there's that concern out there. So there's a lot that is riding on this jury, a lot of pressure, but hopefully they will rise to the task.
Yeah, I mean, their safety is obviously a huge concern. We have some identifying details, as you say. Things can leak out through family and friends who know that they're on this jury. How confident are you that the judge can keep this under control?
I think he's going to do a good job. He's already asserted a very strong hand here. He's admonished the press. He's going to admonish the parties there. He's going to do whatever he can to keep this jury safe. And I think as the public, we should also make sure that we don't second guess them. We let them do their jobs. That's one of the beauties of the jury system. 12 diverse individuals from different walks of life all getting together to make this really important decision. I think we have to honor that and let them work.
Do you think that Judge Marchand will ultimately decide to sequester the jury?
It could happen. I mean, there's a lot of steps that are going to happen before that. It's obviously a huge cost for 6 weeks to sequester the jury. There's also personal hardships on jurors who have childcare and stuff like that. We could lose jurors even with sequestration. But ultimately, if he feels that he cannot protect these jurors in their own homes and they're being individually threatened, he may take that step.
You noted the high profile of some of these jurors. 18 of them, the 12 plus the 6, will be meeting as a group for the first time on Monday. They're highly educated, many of them. There are 2 lawyers, 2 engineers,
Yes.
many with a master's degree. What do you think that means for the defendant, former President Trump?
Well, I think both sides are going to count on them. I think obviously the prosecution is counting on them to really make the direct connections, the lawyers to be able to say, we have to follow the law on this. If the evidence does meet the law, then is hoping to help educate some of the other jurors about how to make those connections to actually obtain a conviction in this fairly unique legal theory here. I think obviously the defense is looking at these people to really scrutinize them, hold them up to a very high burden to really prove their case because it is beyond a reasonable doubt. And if they can't prove intent, which is something that is going to be a key element here, the intent to defraud the voters, then I think the defense is hoping that either juror number two, who's a true social follower, some of the financial people will just kind of look at this conduct and go, this may be transactional. I'm not sure it rises to the level of a felony. So I think both sides are trying to count on these folks to carry a lot of water for them.
And just as a reminder, these aren't just New Yorkers, these are all Manhattanites. They're all just from the Manhattan borough. And when you look at the different characteristics that we know about these jurors, do you have any guesses about what the group dynamic's going to be?
Well, it's super interesting because normally you are picking one or two opinion leaders, people who are going to really sort of drive the jury in one direction or another. But we've got a lot of pretty high profile individuals on this group. We've got really experienced financial people also probably at the top of their profession. You've got the lawyers, you've got the engineers here. So there's a lot of people. And so the personality dynamic is going to be important because obviously the prosecution needs a consensus jury. They need everybody to work together, to get along, to not have a lot of dissent here to come to a verdict. Obviously, Donald Trump wants to find at least just that one juror who's going to cross their arms, uh, dig their heels in and say, I just don't see it. I don't think the prosecution has met their burden of proof here, and I'm not going to convict. So that dynamic, that personality interaction is going to be very interesting to see how this jury gels or doesn't.
All right, a very big week ahead for the former president, for these 12 jurors, for the 6 alternates, and really for the country. It's the first time. Richard Gabriel, thank you so much for your insights and your time this evening.
Thank you.